That's right. It's Monday night. Sports on the Hill podcast, True Radio Network, CP3, Robbie G coming to you live, bringing you the best DC sports coverage around. Once again, episode 223. It's amazing. 200 episodes plus. We got our fan base growing. We appreciate you guys checking out the Facebook page, the website, and all the good info and good footage and coverage we put out there. Robbie G, how you doing tonight? I know we got a full show, but we got a more relaxed show because hockey was on. We're going to get into that. But how you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's an interesting night for sure. The Wizards are in a close game. I'll break that down in a few minutes. But overall, it's taking a look at the week that was. Just really exciting times for Wizards and Caps fans. They went a combined 6-0. It's as good as we could ask for them, Carol. So the Wizards went 4-0 last week. They're now on an 8-game win streak coming into this live game that I'll mention in just a moment. The Capitals only had 2 games against the Islanders, and they were able to take care of both of them. Both of them had Sam in net. There was a question on whether or not we would split it or whatnot. We'll talk a little bit with Carol about whether or not they should go back to double V, or do you let Sam have his third start in a row, which they haven't done in a long time. So that'll be an interesting debate that we can have in a little bit. But overall, 6-0. Unfortunately, the Nats 500, 3-3. We were hoping for a little better. And DC United did not do very well in their game. Unfortunately, it was a defensive matchup for them. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But 5 minutes and 13 seconds left in this live Wizards game, and they are up 3 points, 118 to 115. So it's a very, very close game. I do want to say they're on an 8-game win streak currently at the start of this. And there's been some key contributions from a bunch of different players, but I won't break all that down right now. But I wanted to say that 9-game win streak is the longest in Bullets or Wizards franchise history. So if they find a way to win this game, and they just had 2 layup attempts, and they didn't get a basket for either of them. That's frustrating. Anyway, so 9 in a row, both in 1968, 69, 78, and in 2001, back with Michael Jordan on the team. Those are the 4 times that they've had 9-game win streaks. So could be some history in the making tonight. I just wanted to put that out there. We'll see if it can happen. San Antonio is a very tough team to beat. They're on the free throw line right now. So those are some of the big stats. One other thing is Russell Westbrook becomes one of only 3 players to score 1,000 points in every season since 2010, joining DeMar DeRozan, who he's playing against tonight, and LeBron James. So a lot of people are talking about that trade. Was it a good deal for Westbrook for Wall? Wall coming out today. He's had a injury, and he's going to be out for the rest of the season. It's interesting to see the returns where Westbrook has another triple double tonight, and I believe he's had 15 out of their last 18 games. He's had a triple double, so just incredible stats coming from him. Unfortunately, the Wizards are only up by 1, and San Antonio's got the ball. They make the bucket, and now Washington's down by 1. So 4.5 minutes left in that one. But Carol, while I share this to a couple other Twitch streamers, groups, and stuff like that, can you help break down a little bit of what and give a taste of what you talked about with Dugenet this past Thursday? And that way, if people want to go and check that out on your YouTube channel or on our Facebook channel or on your Facebook, they can go back and check out your wonderful draft coverage.
No doubt, no doubt. In case you missed it on last Thursday night, Dude and myself did our yearly breakdown on the pre-draft and off-season acquisitions of the Washington football team. We basically broke down the players that they've picked up, talked about the players that's left, and previewed some of the upcoming talent that's coming out via draft. You can always go check it out at sportsothp.com, or you can go to my YouTube channel, Carol Porter the Third, with 3 eyes, not the number 3, and you can check it out. We had a good little convo for about an hour, hour 45. We talked about the Alex Smith situation. broke down defensive strategy going forward. We talked about Chase Young, Cameron Curl, some of the pieces is there, possibly Landon Collins, moving the linebacker. We've seen some rumors of that going around. So we talked a little bit about that. Talking, like I said, we covered some of the NCAA prospects, him being down here, SEC country, seeing those players up close and personal. He always brings us the best coverage. He actually was talking about Cameron Curl at the Senior Bowl last year. And when the team drafted him, he said how he stood out and he felt like he was going to make an impact on the team. And lo and behold, that rookie plan as well that he did the first season, looking like he was going to progress and get better and better, which is all we hope for. So we went through a nice little, coverage of that. Once again, the draft is coming up at the 29th of April through May 1st. We went over all the draft picks that lined up in each round. So you can always go back and check it out in case you missed it. We broke it down pretty well, as BJ always does with his insight. So make sure you go check it out because some great content.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I think it was a really great stream. Lots of good information. People should definitely check it out. Yeah, well, let's with that. Right now, it's 3:33 left in the fourth quarter. The Wizards are now down two, but they do have the ball. Overall, it's been a very close game, but we'll break this down at 10:15. I'll give some scoring updates. Oh, they just tied it as we talk about the hockey. But let's get into some of this hockey talk now. Carol, we only had two games to break down. And if people want the simple breakdowns, if they go to sportsothp.com, after every game, I do a little recap, 3 to 5 minute video recapping some of the stuff that we'll talk about. So if people want additional information, they could always check out those as well. I do them after every win. But let's break down the scoring in both of those games from last week, and then we can take a look at the week ahead as well, which is pretty interesting. So the first game is really easy to talk about because there's no goals to break down in all of regulation or on overtime. So that gives both goalies a shootout. By the way, or a shutout rather. And it's only one time, or this is the first time in the history of the Washington Capitals where they've ever won a 1-0 game via the shootout. It's never happened. So all other 1-0 games, there's only, I believe, been a very few of them that the Capitals have ever won. We're not very good at 1-0 games historically. And I think the last one was Ole Kolzig or something like that, long, long time ago. But to do it in the shootout means that both teams get a shutout, which I didn't know. I didn't know you could get a shutout and a loss. So Varlamov gets a shutout. Ilya Samsonov gets a shutout. Goes to the shootout. Oshie misses. Jordan misses for them. They miss. They score a goal. The Nicholas Backstrom scores a goal. Brock Nelson misses, and Kuzi gives them the bird and scores the goal, the shootout goal to win it for us. Just a really good defensive game. Really felt like the playoffs. Carol, I've already sort of spoke on it in my post game. What were some of your thoughts on this defensive tight matchup between the two top teams in the Eastern Division?
It was definitely what we asked for last week when we broke down these potential matchups. Excuse me. It was a good defensive battle. Definitely had a playoff feel. The goalies did their thing. Varlamov has shut out the Capitals in regulation 2 games in a row now. So if they do play in the playoffs, they definitely want to have to figure Varlamov out because he's had that number the last 2 games. But it was good to see the win. Now with Rana gone, we spoke about the shootout before. You know how they had Rana go first, Oshie, and then someone else, or Oshie wouldn't have to be the first one to put the pressure on the other team. So now with Rana not here anymore, we definitely going to have to find someone to put in the shootout that can put Oshie in that 2 spot. Because luckily Kuzi was able to bail us out. We didn't have one of those long, drawn out shootouts. And but it was definitely a good win at the time. New York was in second place. They're actually in third place now. It's crazy that first and third is separated about 4 points right now. But it was definitely a good game. It was definitely what we asked for, a defensive game. 60 minutes plus, even though the overtime was tilted toward the Islanders a little bit. But they were able to get the point and get the win in the shootout. So that's all that matters.
Yeah, definitely an exciting, sort of gut wrenching, a lot of pressure game. At least in my opinion, it was making me nervous the whole entire time. But I'm happy we got away with it and got a W in the end. Um, and so I want to thank everyone for tuning in on the live. I hadn't even shared it yet, but did you share the live feed? We already have 24 people
Um,
in.
I haven't even shared it yet, not even
Wow.
one either.
Wow, that's impressive. Well, thank you, 26 people on Facebook Live, for tuning in without us even sharing it yet. If you have got any questions or want to talk about the Wizards or the Caps or the Nationals, definitely feel free to chime in. We really appreciate it. But yeah, it was just a really great game. Let me just break down the scoring in the second game and let Carol talk about it some more, and then I will share it to a couple of other groups. But definitely ask questions if you do. And we also got 8 viewers here on Twitch. So thank you everyone for tuning in. It's a big night for us, episode 223. And so yeah, basically this game was really exciting. Garnet Hathaway scored pretty early on in the game. TJ Oshie got a really nice goal and a great passing play from Anthony Mantha to Nick Backstrom to TJ Oshie. Mantha got his 12th point of the season. Nicholas Backstrom's 34th 12th assist, and Nicholas Backstrom's 34th assist. TJ Oshie got his 17th goal and has continued his hot play. We go up 2-0. They get one back on the power play. They get a shorthanded goal, and I get really nervous. And that was at the start of the second period. I was like, we could kind of blow it open here and go up 3-1. Instead, it was 2-2, and I got really nervous. Nick Dowd, though, playing phenomenal, hit his ninth goal of the season. Brendan Dillon, who had himself a hell of a game, got his 14th assist of the season. Trevor Van Riemsdyk got his first assist. I made it 3-2. And then Sprong, he was on the top line, and both him and Dillon were kind of the two of the MVPs of this game. Sprong gets his 8th goal of the season, assist by Kuzi, his 18th, and Dillon gets another assist, his 15th. Makes it 4-2. It was just a really beautiful play. They put Daniel Sprong on that top line because Ovechkin was out with injury. Unfortunately, they get one back at the end of the second period, 4-3 to make it close. Kuzi gets an unassisted goal at 7:35, his ninth of the season, makes it 5-3. And then Sprong scores his ninth goal of the season, so he gets his second of the night. Tom Wilson's 18th assist and Kuzi's 19th assist makes it 6-3. And that Daniel Sprong goal, that last one, beautiful play. Kuzi wins it from the faceoff, passes it to Tom Wilson. Tom Wilson reminds me of like somebody, being a holder for a field goal. He sort of puts it perfectly right on a platter for Daniel Sprong, who scores that goal. So that play, Tom Wilson doesn't get seen as much in that play because of the great first of all, the great win of the puck cleanly by Kuzi and the great finish by Sprong. But if you don't have Wilson to connect the dots, there's no goal there. And so I think just a phenomenal play. So yeah, Carol, break down some of your thoughts on this wonderful 6-3 win where they went back to Sammy, but the other team didn't go back to Varlamov, which I thought was an interesting call.
Yeah, I mean, well, Sorokin, he was undefeated at home, first time a rookie goaltender for the Islanders won their first eight, so the Cavaliers were the first team to handle his first home loss in his professional career. But it was like I said, they didn't solve Varlamov 2 games in a row getting shut out. I'm not sure Trotz's logic. Maybe he wanted to get some work, but he definitely wasn't his best game. He that first goal to half the way, he should have had that point blank. And then the first goal that Sammy gave up, he should have had that. So it's just like both of the guys had some subpar save percentages. Sammy was like at 870, and I think Sorokin was at like 800. So I mean, in that aspect, it wasn't pretty at all. But it was definitely a good feel to see the Caps hand the Islanders regulation loss, which is only their third regulation loss of the season at home. They just didn't seemed like I don't know. I don't want to say that they weren't motivated, but it's like the Caps had their number, even with Ovi out, and we've seen Sprong on different lines all throughout the season. And he does have a great shot, and it's deadly and it's accurate. And he definitely stepped up big time, getting 2 goals. Yeah, that goal off the face off was OVS. We've seen Ovi plenty of times get the goal off the face, off the clean face off win, goes right back to the slot, boom, he drills it home. So it was good to see this team, even though it's rare that Ovi is out, it's good to see this team, be able to perform like that at that level offensively against a division rival with so much on the line. Now that Pittsburgh has gotten hot, they're at the top of the division right now. But Capitals still playing good hockey. They're getting better. I did like the fact that they had Samson off in for 2 in a row. Like I said, I didn't really like the save percentage, but he got the win. That's all that matters. He didn't, like I said, the first goal was questionable, but Islanders are a good team. So I mean, I'm not going to be super critical because, like I said, he got the win. They actually had a little story on when they did a little coverage of the NHL Network, speaking about his save percentage being so low, but he still he wins when he's in the net. He's like 12, 3-1 or something like that. So um, it's a little concerning. I'm gonna see what he does. If he is the guy going into the playoffs, but with these games coming up and how huge they are in his upcoming schedule once we get into that, we're going to see who the coach has the faith in that we can. I think we'll see who's going to be the guy that's going into the playoffs with this stretch that's coming up now with these next 3 games that we're about to break down shortly.
Yeah. So with that, I mean, we talked about goalies a lot. What do you do? Do you go right back to Sam since he's beaten them twice in a row, or we want to have Double V get a shot since this might be a team that we may have to play in the playoffs? What do you do for the first home game? And by the way, I had tickets in my wallet and they suddenly slipped through. So I was going to go to the game. Doesn't happen. I'm sorry. That would have been cool to broadcast live from this game. But I'll still maybe try to get to a game at some point this year. But what do you think, Carol? What do you do for tomorrow's game?
Very interesting. Samsonov, like I said, he did get the 2 wins up in New York. And like I said, this is like you say, right before the playoff time is about to start. You got another game against the Islanders and 2 huge games against Pittsburgh. Uh, I'd say if we see him in the third game, I think that'd be pretty much the way they're going. I don't really see Double V getting back in it. He might get back in there maybe one more time, maybe twice, just to keep him active, just in case something happens in the playoffs. But depending on what we see when they get home against the Islanders tomorrow night, if Samsonov can get the win again and hopefully have a better save percentage, then I'll start, having the same confidence you have in him that he could be the guy going
Yeah, for sure. By the way, the game is tied 135, 4 minutes and 17 seconds left in overtime. The game did go to overtime in this Wizards game. It is still a very crazy game. I've got all of the Wizards people blowing up my phone. Two shots at the rim, both of them rejected. Mad scramble for the ball. Unfortunately, San Antonio was able to come away with it. But anyway, yeah, it's gonna be a tough matchup. I think for the Caps, they go back to Sammy because you know that they're gonna go back to Varlamov, right? So we gotta get. Let's see if the rematch. Let them play it out as if it was a playoff series and see what you can do. And then I give Double V the next game no matter what, right? So for me, even if he wins that game, I don't want Double V to get too rusty. He's going to get that first game against Pittsburgh. So again, the Islanders game's at 7 on Tuesday. Pittsburgh, it would be at 7 on Thursday. And so that way they each get a home game. And then on Saturday, that other Pittsburgh game, I say you give it to whoever did better in the other 2 games. Give each one game. If Sam loses but Double V wins, then he gets the Pittsburgh game. But they both win, then it's a tough argument. I'm not sure which way you go. It depends on, I guess, on how well Double V did in that first game against Pittsburgh. But I would probably want to give Sam a shot against Pittsburgh anyway because it's a team we might play. But it's going to be a rough week. So Saturday game is also at 7. And then in a few moments before we end this segment, we'll bring in Brian Brennan because next Monday there's a game at 7 in New York, and I want to get his thoughts on how the Rangers are doing. But Carol, before we get in and bring Brian in, what are your thoughts on these next two Pittsburgh games that'll be a little later in the week?
I haven't really got a chance to see what Pittsburgh's been doing lately, but I see that they're 7-1-1 in their last 9. And like I said, are sitting on top of the division right now. The Caps have been number 1 for a while now, so Pittsburgh is trying to put their mark on it. These 2 games are huge. If they can win the first game in regulation, that is, in my opinion, put some of the pressure on Pittsburgh. And if they can take both of them, then that'll be huge. I think the Islanders, uh, with them coming back to Varlamov, is going to be a tough game. But they should have the confidence after the last 2 games they played. They beat them Islander style in New York with a 1-0 win, and then they beat them Capital style with a high scoring 6-3 win at New York. So I think they should have the confidence along with the fans in the stands. I think the Capitals should be no problem in that game. It's just those Penguins, like I said, I haven't got a chance to watch to see what's going on with them lately, why they've gotten so hot. But them two, the Capitals and the Penguins, hopefully Ovi will be back, and all we can do is wait and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank everyone. We've got over 40 people on the Facebook Live right now. We've got over 7 people, and Carly just joined us, and Lucky has joined us. For people who know us on Twitch and know that fam, so I appreciate. Carly will be on a show with us in a couple of weeks. So shout out to her for that. She's a Boston fan, so she's not going to like what I'm about to say. So you were asking how the Pittsburgh Penguins are doing. They're actually playing a 2-game set against Boston, and Boston was able to win that last one 1-0 against them. So another big game between the two of them will happen on Tuesday. So you know that it's going to be just as tough between those two as it kind of is between the Islanders and the Caps. So they'll both have pretty significant tune-up games. But the 3 games that the Pittsburgh Penguins were able to win before that were 3 against New Jersey, and they split 2 in Buffalo and lost 1 time at Philadelphia, and then they won the 2 Jersey games before that. So they've had 5 New Jersey games recently just to mitigate some of it. But I mean, we beat up on New Jersey a lot early on. That's how we got to first place. It's not surprising Pittsburgh beats up on them now, and that's how they've taken first place. But again, it'll be interesting to see Boston versus Pitt, in the next game tomorrow, and then see how both teams do. And then we'll actually be playing Boston towards the last game of the season is against Boston. So that we'll have Carly on live on my other show on that Tuesday. So that'll be a crazy night where we'll have rivalry night on this Twitch channel. But yeah, some exciting stuff coming up. I think, and Soy says hello. So hey to Soy and Gelati as well on Twitch. And again, if anyone has any questions live on Facebook or Twitch, I'm taking them from both of them. But overall, it's going to be a tough week. I'm hoping to take 2 out of 3 of those games. What are your thoughts on that before we get into this Rangers game next Monday?
Yeah, 2 out of 3 would be good. I would rather, I say, lose to the Islanders and sweep the Penguins, but I'd rather them go 3-0 and solidify their spot number 1 and go into the playoffs on a good feeling against the competition that they're going to be playing against in the first round, or either one of the competition they're going to be playing against. Because, like I said, it's so close. You don't know who's going to make the playoffs and what position and what right now. It's so close right now.
Yeah, so the scoring update 139, 238 left. Oh, they drain a bucket right there. San Antonio up now 141, 139. We're just giving a couple of scoring updates since it's in overtime. And the Wizards are currently on an 8-game winning streak if you're just tuning in live. They're trying to match their highest win streak in the history of the franchise, which would be 9. They're 2 minutes and 18 seconds away from that. We'll see if they can actually make it happen. They shoot the 3 and they miss it, but a big time rebound. But unfortunately, I think it's a foul. It'll be interesting to see who it's on. I think it's actually maybe on them. So
I'm Patty Mills.
Yeah, so that's good. So Rui Hachimura is back in the game. He's number 8 for the Wizards, and it's a big night for them. I believe it's Japanese Heritage Night, and the fans are back in the building. and they seem surprised about what the call is. So, they're saying it's a technical foul. Interesting. Shot a technical.
Oh, because Bill got knocked down and he didn't get the foul call. He must have said something.
Yikes. So that's a technical foul. And this guy's been calling technicals on both of our players. Westbrook had a technical and he was irate, and you could hear all the cursing since it's so quiet in that thing. So that was pretty amusing earlier. So it's a side out. They have the ball. Now they're down 3 with 2 minutes left. We'll see what they can do there. Let's bring in Brian Brennan now. We'll get his take both on this upcoming Rangers game and how the Rangers are doing. Hey, Brian, how are you doing?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
What's going on, bro?
I'm watching a really stressful Knicks game right now. It's very tight.
Yeah, I'm watching an equally stressful Wizards game, so I know how it is. So yeah,
it's been brutal.
Yeah. So,
what's happening?
So Brian, give us a little sense of how I know the Rangers have been a little up and down the last couple of weeks. Just give like a little recap. I know you were done with them a few days ago, and then maybe not now. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Robbie, I was definitely done with them after they lost to the Flyers on Thursday. I said it in our hockey chat that I thought the season was over. I was done with hockey as it was. But then on Friday, things got a little bit better. The Rangers beat Buffalo on Friday. They got one game closer to the Bruins, or they beat the Flyers on Friday. They got one game closer to the Bruins, who lost to Buffalo on Friday. And then on Sunday, like you already mentioned, Pittsburgh beat Boston in the first game of their back-to-back. And so the Rangers knew about that going into their game against Buffalo. They went in, they put forth a very good effort in their game against Buffalo yesterday to move to within 2 games of the Boston Bruins for the last playoff spot. So I was wrong to write off the Rangers and declare the season over. That's my bad. I jumped the gun. The season is not over. The Rangers are still very much alive. The one problem, I think, is that they might run out of time, and that the Boston Bruins, because of their COVID issues, have 2 games in hand. So they might just run out of time, and the Bruins just might have too many games. We'll see how it goes. But like I said, it's not over yet, and I'm looking forward to that game, that back-to-back Monday and Wednesday at the Garden against you guys.
Yeah, that'll be nuts. It'll both games, by the way, will be live for us, so people will be able to see my reaction to both of them. The first one, obviously, during this podcast. The second one, I'm doing a Cinco de Mayo show next week. I hope that people are able to tune into that. But that I'll be drinking, talking music and sports with a Canadian Josh Turk. If people on Twitch, they know him. He also is a recording artist, and you can see him on Apple Music and all that sort of stuff as well. Anyway, I'll give more of an introduction next week on him, but we're going to be live watching the other Rangers game, as well as I believe a Wizards game that night as well. So that'll be a busy show. So next week, 2 live Rangers games live on my Twitch channel if you want to see my reactions to either of them. Hopefully good. I know Brian probably.
Yeah, no, I'm not hoping for that.
Yeah, Brian hopes for misery on my Twitch channel. Yeah, it's been kind of crazy. How's your Knicks game going, Brian? Has it gotten any less close?
It's been a very close, good game. They're playing the Phoenix Suns, who are one of the best teams in the West. It was close. It was tied going into the fourth quarter. Right now, Phoenix has a 8-point lead. They just made a 3 to make it an 8-point lead. So that's big. There's about 5 minutes left in the game. Knicks are trying to extend their winning streak to 10. Now they need to come back from an 8-point deficit. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. It's right now a 1-point game with just under a minute left in overtime. They're showing how Len has just been dominating here as of late, trying to keep us in it. It's been an interesting game with some unsung heroes usually for the team stepping up big. So 19 seconds left. San Antonio is up 144 to 143. Len has got 17 points and 10 rebounds. So that's pretty crazy. I don't have a whole lot more. I think it's the 2 Pittsburgh games. It's the obviously Islanders game and the Rangers game. It's going to be a tough week for the Capitals. But Carol, any final thoughts before I'll let you and Brian talk a little baseball?
No, we pretty much covered it. Like I said, getting ready for playoffs. They just got to keep on, playing Capitals hockey and winning. Keep on getting points to stay at the top, and let the chips fall where they may come playoff time.
For sure. All right, well, I am going to let you guys banter a little bit about baseball back and forth for a few. I honestly I didn't watch any games this week. I feel like a bad Nationals fan. I've just been very, very busy. But I have been keeping up with the Wizards. And so right now, I believe it was a timeout taken. San Antonio has the ball. And they're up 144 to 143. So you guys talk baseball for a little bit. I'll share to a couple of things, and then I'll let you guys know what the final score in this game is.
All right. Appreciate that, Robbie. Yeah, the Nationals went 3-3 this past week. We were hoping they would do better, but as Brian mentioned last week, going up against the Mets, as long as they didn't go up against the Grom, that they'd be all right. They went up against the Grom, and I'll let Brian break that down later on when we get to the Mets. But, I'm glad I didn't see that game after I saw the numbers, so I'll let Brian go over what he saw. But they also had a 3-game set versus St. Louis, which they won, went to 2 out of 3. They're currently sitting at 8-11, bottom of the division, but they're only 2 games out of first place. So, like I always tell the Nats fans, just relax, calm down. It's still early, they're in last place, but it's only 2 games. Relax. So, as I mentioned, it went 3-3. First game against St. Louis was kind of ugly, a 12-5 loss. Jack Flaherty earned the win, puts him at 3-0. He went 6 innings, giving up 6 hits, 5 runs, 2 of those earned with 5 strikeouts and 2 walks. Joe Ross took the loss with the worst performance of his professional career. That says a lot. He went 4 in the third, giving up 8 hits, 10 earned runs, 5 strikeouts with 2 walks. Lone bright spots on offense. Yan Gomes went 1 for 3 with the RBI double. Victor Robles went 1 for 4 with an RBI single. And Starling Castro had 2 RBIs. Ended up going 0 for 3 at a sacrifice fly and a fielder's choice where the guy scored. Yeah, that was an ugly game. Game 2 was a 3-2 victory by the Nats. This was a bases loaded walk in the 8th inning. Basically was the leading run, the game-winning run. This was a very interesting battle against these 2 teams. It was you go from a 12-5, slugfest in the first game to a 3-2 tight ball game. Daniel Hudson earned the win. That puts him at 2-0. He went 1 inning, giving up no hits, no earned runs, strikeout. The losing pitcher was Giovanni Gallegos. Hope I got that right. That put him at 2-1.
You did. He's a former Yankee.
Oh, hey, thanks, Brian. Hey, I got it right. Sweet. He went 2/3 of inning, giving up 1 hit, 2 runs, 1 strikeout, 2 walks. And Brad Hand earned the save. That's his second of the season. He went 1 inning, giving up 1 hit, but no earned runs. Josh Bell went 1 for 3 with the solo home run. Trey Turner went 2 for 4 with the RBI single. And Yan Gomes, as I mentioned, was the player that walked, that allowed the leading run, the game-winning run to cross the plate in the bases loaded 8th inning. And the last game of the series was, to me, one of the best games that I've seen all season. It was a 1-0 victory by the Nats. Mad Max won the game, puts him at 1-1. He went 6 innings, giving up 4 hits, no runs, 9 strikeouts and 1 walk. Carlos Martinez took the loss. That puts him at 0-4. He also went 6 innings with 4 hits, but he gave up 1 earned run with 3 strikeouts and 1 walk. And Brad Hand earned the save for his third, going 1 inning. No hits, no earned runs with a walk. Alex Sevilla went 2 for 3 and actually had the RBI double that scored the run that gave the Nats the 1-0 victory. This was a great game to watch if you like defensive baseball and good pitching. Bullpen, did the thing for the Nats. And they were able to win 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals. That's 2 weeks in a row they've been able to do that. So that's the one good sign until we get into the Nets matchup later on. But Brian, what did you take away from this matchup versus the Cardinals being able to win 2 out of 3 against them again?
I think it's great to win 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals, and to have done it twice in St. Louis and here, I think is great because I think St. Louis will be a playoff team. They've got a lot of talent. The first game, Ross, you mentioned he had been good going into that start. His first couple starts of the year, he'd been good, but he really was. You mentioned it, probably the worst start of his career in that game. He was very bad. got completely shelled by the Cardinals in that one. And then, yeah, you mentioned that those last two games, they were very close, very tight pitchers duels. I love that third game. You mentioned small defensive baseball. I love that shit, man. I love pitching. We're going to talk about DeGrom in a minute. I love good pitching. And Scherzer was on his A game in this one. Gomes and Avila both had very good series. So the Nationals have two very good catchers right now. I think Avila, even in a backup role, will be a good player for them. And nothing more really to say. This was a good series win against St. Louis, but they got degrominated on Friday.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into this. I know if Mark Moore is watching, I know he was probably pretty happy. He's a Mets fan, even though he's a Washington football team fan. So, get into this 6-0 shutout by, as Brian said, the best pitcher in baseball right now. Jacob DeGrom, that puts him at 3-1, went 9 innings, giving up 2 hits, no earned runs, with 15 strikeouts and no walks. Those are Max Scherzer type numbers. I had to throw that out there just because I don't like getting shut out. And losing pitcher was Eric Fetty. That puts him at 1-2. He went 5 innings, giving up 4 hits, 3 earned runs with 3 strikeouts and 2 walks. There were no offensive highlights for the Nationals. So, yeah. Second game of the series was a 7-1 victory by the Nationals. Joe Walsh bounced back very well in this game, going 2-1, putting them at 2-1, going 6 innings, giving up 5 hits, 1 earned run, 4 strikeouts, and 1 walk. The losing pitcher was Marcus Stroman. That puts him at 3-1. He went 4 innings, giving up 8 hits, 5 runs, 4 of those earned, with 4 strikeouts and 2 walks. Hernandez, what's his name, Brian? I know you know. Was it
Yadiel Hernandez or something like that? It's something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I wasn't even going to try. I was just going to say Hernandez. He went 2 for 4 with the RBI single and the sacrifice fly. Schwarber went 2 for 5 with the RBI single, and Andrew Stevenson went 1 for 4 with the RBI. On a fielder's choice. Yeah, right. And the last game of the series was an unfortunate shutout. To get shut out 2 out of 3 games sucks. I never like to get shut out in any sport: football, basketball, baseball. Basketball, you hopefully never get shut out. But yeah, that just sucks. You got to at least get 1 run. I can't have a donut up there.
Carol, real quickly, can I just give the final
score?
Yeah,
the final score for the Wizards game.
Yeah, it's not very good.
It's not very good in the Knicks game either, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Wizards had a chance. They were down 3. Bradley Beal, the guy you want, shooting the 3, goes up for it, and it comes up a bit short. And we get a rebound. We try to put it up in time, but by that point, it had been too late. The buzzer already went off before he got it off. So, that ends our 8-game win streak, longest one we've had since 2001. I hate that ends during our show. I would have loved for us to tie history that we were talking about at the beginning of the show. But 8 wins in a row is still very impressive. The Spurs seem to always have our number. Again, a very close game in overtime, 146-143. We'll break it down with the whole team in a little bit, but I just wanted to get that score in there, unfortunately. But I'll let you guys break down the rest.
8 in a row and put themselves in the playoff race. So, I mean, that's still good, man.
It's very true. So I'll let you guys continue to talk baseball, but I just thought I would chime in a little bit.
All right, no problem. Appreciate that. That, sucks that they couldn't extend, but hey, like I said, they're in a good position right now, and I'm sure Robbie and the guys will break it down in about 15 minutes and wrap up, the last game of the Mets series. Taiwan Walker, he earned the victory on 7 innings, giving up 3 hits, no earned runs, and 4 strikeouts and 3 walks. And Patrick Corbin, I don't know what's going on with him this season so far, but that puts him at 0-3. He only lasted 4 innings, giving up 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, and 3 walks. His control has been, his last start, he was better. He was a little erratic in the beginning, but then he settled down. This one, he just I don't know. His slider just hasn't been working for him this year like it was previous years. So I don't know if it's something mental. I don't know if he need to, go on IL. You saw what happened with Strasburg when he got, beat up. It was because of the inflammation, I guess. So I don't know. Maybe he's not healthy, but yeah, he hasn't looked anything like his previous self that we used to seeing him getting on the mound every couple of days. Brian, what did you take away from this? It's always demoralizing losing a series to the Mets. It just to me, it just is. What did you take away from this series loss to the right now division leading Mets?
I hope that doesn't last. But yeah, so I had a choice on Friday night, Carol. I was like, do I want to watch the Rangers Flyers game or do I want to watch Jacob deGrom pitch against the Nationals? And I was like, I think I want to watch Jacob deGrom pitch against the Nats. And boy, am I glad I made the right decision. That was one of the best pitching performances in the regular season I've ever witnessed. A 2-hit, complete game, 15 strikeout masterpiece from the best pitcher in baseball right now. I talked to a couple other Nats fans about this too, Carol. I think everybody kind of thought that Friday night was going to go kind of like that. Like it was kind of went as expected. deGrom shut them down. It was an easy victory for the Mets. I think everybody expected it to go that way. So I think it was nice to bounce. I'll stop talking about how great Jacob deGrom is, and I'll say it was really nice that they won on Saturday and bounced back nicely, beating Marcus Stroman, who had been great up to that point in the season. Marcus Stroman started the season off very strong. So to beat him, he's very cocky. I can't stand Marcus Stroman. So to beat Marcus Stroman it did very badly the way they did, I thought was awesome in that second game. But yeah, to follow up an offensive performance like they had on Saturday with getting shut out by Taiwan Walker, I thought that was a little surprising. You never want to lose a series to a division rival, especially the Mets. But it's kind of understandable, I guess, because you did go up against deGrom, and he's just so good right now, and he's just unbeatable. Yeah, that's basically my thoughts on the series.
Yeah, like I said, it's still early. They're still figuring some things out. Juan Soto, he's out. So, that's a huge hole in the lineup. We talked about Ovi being out one game in hockey. Juan Soto was a huge piece for this team. They just started to get the lineup back together when they won, 4 out of 7 the week before. But 500 is still good. You can't be too mad at that. Just hopefully they can get some consistency in Strasburg on the IL. Corbin not pitching like himself. We saw Mad Max getting in grounded in his form. But yeah, Joe Ross, he's pitching very well. So there's some things that, there's some bright spots to look at, even though, like I said, they're in the bottom of the division. 3 games under 500, but only 2 games out of the division lead. So we'll see what happens. Go ahead into the upcoming schedule. They have a 2-game series at Toronto on Tuesday and Wednesday. Both are 7:07 start. Then they have a 3-game series against the Marlins back here in Nats Park. The Marlins game is Friday at 7:05 start, Saturday at 1:05 start, and Sunday at 1:05 start. Brian, I haven't had a chance to check out the Blue Jays. That's one of your division rivals. How the Blue Jays looking this season so far?
Well, they beat the Yankees in both series they played against them this season, both at the stadium and down in Dunedin, where they're playing their regular season games this year until the border opens up. The Blue Jays are a very good, young, exciting team. They've got several players who are sons of major league greats. They've got Vladimir Guerrero Jr., they've got Kevin Biggio, who's Craig Biggio's son. They've got Bo Bichette, who is a great young player. He's Dante Bichette's son. All these guys are really good. They're very fun to watch. So this series is going to be tough. Toronto is a good team. Personally, as a Yankee fan, I'm hoping you guys beat Toronto because the Yankees need to get back into the division race, but the Yankees need to take care of their own shit because they keep losing to the Orioles and teams like that. But yeah, I think this will be a split. I think they'll split the 2 games against Toronto. And just to keep in mind, these games are not in Toronto; they're in Florida. The Blue Jays are playing until the border opens up. They will be playing all their games in down in Dunedin.
Nice. And they have 3 games against the Marlins. Marlins are right above the Nationals at 9-12. Nationals are 8-11. Excuse me. So we will see. I'm not sure. Like I said, I haven't seen any of the Marlins this year, but hopefully the Nationals can win 2 out of 3 against against them and have a positive week. Toronto, as Brian said, is playing some good ball. Got some good offense, and playing well in the AL East. Let's see what the Nats can do. If they can take one out of 2 from them and maybe sweep the Marlins and get back in the division race. Maybe they can be in first place by the end of the week. Who knows? Rob, you have any thoughts on the upcoming schedule?
Not particularly. I mean, I think that we need to obviously win. So there's a 2-game series and a 3-game series, right? So we need to win at least 3 out of the 5. And I don't know. We just got to start making waves. I'd really love for us to somehow go on a big win streak and take a bunch of games in a row. I just don't know if this is the team that's got that in them this early in the season. Lately it's been win a couple, lose a couple. We haven't really put it all together for multiple games in a row, it seems. That's kind of the next step that they have to take in my mind.
That's the Yankees' problem.
Yeah, a lot of teams have that problem. I mean, the Orioles have that problem too. How is that Orioles-Yankees game going, by the way?
The Orioles won. We don't need to talk about it.
Oh, we don't need to talk about it. Okay.
We definitely don't need to talk about it.
I'm sure that Tim in 7 minutes when he comes on will want
We
to
definitely don't need to talk about it with Tim either.
Alrighty. Interesting. But yeah, both teams were struggling. They had the same record going into that game. But it'll be interesting to see how they do going forward. I see that Arun's on the line. I wanted to bring him in to see if he had any thoughts on the Nationals, how they've been doing, or the upcoming schedule. I think he's still there. I don't know. Maybe not. Oh, there he is. Oh, Arun. No fancy background. You're on your phone.
Yeah.
Oh no. Right.
What's going on, Arun?
Not much. Yeah, that's. I think everyone touched on it. They won a couple, lost a couple. Like, was a great week, was a terrible week. It was a step in the right direction. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
I can barely hear him.
Maybe I'll try. I don't know if the setup is freaking that well.
Yeah, you're kind of low. I don't know what your volume could be up a little. I heard him in my headphones, but it is a little bit tough to hear you. So, oh wait, hold on. Now I can't hear you at all. Try it one more time. There we go. Hold on. Talk now. I think
Is it better?
You. Oh, it's much better. Yeah,
We got him.
we got him. Yeah. Screw headphones. Like, was that
Yeah.
the problem?
I just unplugged the headphones.
Yeah, that's usually the answer. All right. Well, why don't you repeat what you said just that way people couldn't hear you?
Yeah, it was an up and down week. It looked like they were heading for a really good week, and then they struggled against the Mets. DeGrom was great with that, I believe, 15 strikeout performance. But they won Saturday. They beat the Caps and the Mets. I mean, the Caps beat a New York team as well as the Nats, so it was good. But
oh yeah, oh my God! Real quickly, sorry about that. The Capitals talked about how both teams won in the island or in New York or something, and Mets fans and Islanders fans were like, "It's on! It's always on!" And I'm like. And it was so funny. So many people tweeted at the Capitals about this that they made a meme about how they're so in their head because everyone is tweeting at this.
Well, if it's well known that in New York that Mets and Jets and Islanders fans are all the same people, so it's not surprising that all these people ganged up together to get up against your team.
Yeah, I just thought that was really funny because I was like, really? It's on, it's in. I mean, it's in New York, it's on the island, fine, but they made a really big deal about it. I thought that was really funny. But yeah, I'm happy that they both won that night. That was it was a good night for both teams.
Yeah, that's about it. 2 shutout losses were not encouraging, but at least they split the series with the Mets. They won the Cardinals series and they won the Diamondback series. So overall, it was a step in the right direction.
Yeah. All right, Carol, do you have any final thoughts on it before we switch gears and talk about, sadly, the Wizards, who were doing amazing, but now slightly less amazing?
No, that's it. I can't wait to hear from Tim about the Orioles.
All right, Carol, any final thoughts on you have?
Nah, I'm pretty much good. I'm gonna go ahead and step back and let you guys talk about the Wizards and their run to the playoffs and the unfortunate loss tonight. So I'm gonna sit back and relax.
Nice, sounds good. All right, I'll get yeah, I'm gonna get Tim to get on, but I'm also gonna get Champ to now turn on his camera as well. We'll bring in Brian back, and then there we go. Oh, Tim is there. Well, Tim, congratulations. I know in the game that we're not allowed to talk to you about.
No.
Okay, I didn't see. Was the score good for the Orioles or bad?
Just stop talking, Tim. Just stop talking.
It's not going to happen often. Let me enjoy it. You'll win the next 3, probably.
So people don't know the background. Tim's a big Orioles fan, and Brian is a big Yankees fan. And I'm letting Tim have a little bit of fun on a DC podcast. Anyway.
Oh, God.
Well, Tim, how are you doing tonight?
Pretty good. Just bummed out that the Wizards lost, but I just texted my friend from San Antonio who was at the game, so he was happy about it because he's a Spurs fan. But
I'm sure I've gone to many losses to the Spurs in Washington over the years, so I know what it feels like to be a Washington fan in that building for sure. We also have Champ, who's he's also the True No Spots Pod in chat on Twitch. He's both modding and joining us. How are you doing tonight, Champ?
It was an amazing Monday, given the news I got this morning, then getting the vaccine, and then the Wiz went and spoiled it. God damn it.
I know, but it's okay. It's okay. We've got a lot. We're still going to talk about a perfect week. We will address this game, but we're going to enjoy the fact that they had a perfect week, even if the perfect week might not be fully in effect, because this is the next week, right? So we're talking about last week where we went 4-0. We're not going to speak too much on the first game because we did a post-game show for that, but I will just quickly go over some stats and some information about that game. And then we'll move on and talk about the games that happened in the interim. And then we'll unfortunately end with talk about this loss. And then we'll talk about the week up ahead. They got a big week coming up. So last week, they were playing Oklahoma City. I just wanted to remind people the Wizards were able to come away with a 119-107 victory in that matchup. It was a really good win. I was really happy to see how they played. I'm going to let each one of you guys give your quick thoughts on that one. I'm going to get the stats up on the screen, and then we'll break down the other games. But if people didn't check out last week, Arun, what was your quick take on that game?
Yeah, the Thunder aren't very good, and it was good enough for the Wizards to win their 5th straight game. It was kind of a close game in the second half, but then the Wizards turned it on. Beal had 30 points. Bertans made 6 3-pointers, and that was that, and the Wizards pulled away with their win.
Yeah. All right. And Champ, what were some of your thoughts on that game?
I mean, Arun basically said everything that needed to be said. I mean, you went up against a team that's not very good. So that's one of those what you call games that you're supposed to win. And that's what they did. They went up against a team they were supposed to beat, and they beat them, which was what they needed to do to get themselves in a position of where they are, where they go to 5 in a row. Beal continuing to score at will. Russ out there playing well. I mean, everything seemed to be clicking. The defense was up and down, but it was a lot better than it had been. So that's a great sign here with this game. Is that you showed up and you showed out against the team you were supposed to beat. So big props to them to go out there and just pounce the Thunder like they did.
And Tim, your final thoughts on this 119-107 victory before we move on.
Yeah, just OKC. Like everybody said, they're rebuilding, and they played a lot of no names. I remember Brian texted me during the game, I don't know anybody that's playing on OKC, and the Wizards telecast was kind of in agreement. but Maladon is a decent rookie, so he might be good in the future. I guess look out for him.
Yeah, and Brian, I'll let you get the final word.
Yeah, like you guys said, the fifth straight win. Team you absolutely have to beat. Oklahoma City, I think, came into this game on a 10-game losing streak, maybe an 11-game losing streak. They're not very good. Their best player, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, was out for this game. And, I mean, you mentioned it. Beal was great. Westbrook again. It was a great performance from the Wizards to win their fifth straight at that point.
Yes, and I see there are people still watching, so if anyone has any questions, they can feel free to ask us either live on our Twitch chat or on our Facebook Live, which I'm going to share even a little bit more in a second. All right, let's take a look at the other games from this week. So the Warriors game, this was a great back and forth game. The Wizards started off really strong, 38-20, and then Golden State Warriors roared back. They scored 38-22. Then the Warriors outscored them 35-26, and then the Wizards were able to really put on a kind of a clinic in the fourth and outscored them 32-21. Arun, what were some of your takeaways from this?
Overall, a little bit of a sad game. Denny got injured, had a season-ending injury. Thankfully, it looks like a fracture. Doesn't have to have surgery. Doesn't look like he'll miss next season at all, but it was still a pretty sad moment. Jordan Bell used his warm-ups to cover up his leg, which made it look worse than it actually was. But still a really bad injury. Russell Westbrook, he had like 6 points with 5 minutes to go in the game, and he scored 8, I believe, up to that point, and finished with 14. Steph Curry, only 2 of 14 from three-point range, and that was good enough. And Beal also wasn't that great, the 2 leading scorers, but he was slightly better than Curry, finishing with 29 points. And the Wizards managed to come back at the end of this game and get a nice win against the Warriors team that's also playing for a playoff spot. So good win for the Wizards.
Yes. Tim, what are some of your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing that's great about the Denny injury, or not as bad as it could have been, is they said 12 weeks recovery time. So he might even get a lot of the offseason, which is great for a rookie. So, you want to get the practice reps in. So that's good. The Warriors have a really bad supporting cast. When Steph isn't hitting shots, they struggle. They're already not a very good team. And he's great. He's been amazing this year, especially lately. So the Wizards really held him down, and that's why they won. But at the same time, the Warriors played Gary Payton Jr. or the second, and even the Wizards discarded him. So they just need some more players, and they have injuries. But you got to love the comeback. You got to love the first quarter. But they really did kind of lose it there in the middle. But a win is a win, and it's a team that the Wizards are probably slightly better than at this point. But the Warriors are still an impressive team, and that's a season sweep.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Champ, what are some of your take?
I think what point that we're all missing here is we look at the stat line. Look at Russell Westbrook's triple-double that he had. 14 points, 10 assists, 20 boards for a point guard. You can't tell me that boy Russell ain't special. The man went out there and got 20 boards for his team in this game as part of his triple-double. The Denny injury was so sad because this young man barely had it all season because of the whole pandemic situation. Went out there, did the best that he could with what he had, and now his season is pretty much over, barely a year into the league. So that's very tragic. But this team showed grit and determination in this game to be able to hold on and to be able to get that victory over the Golden State Warriors. And I believe this was the first game that we had fans back in the stands, I believe. So, that's a big deal right there. It's the first time in over a year that there are fans in the stands and you get a victory over a team that's won multiple championships over the last decade.
Right. No, I totally agree. Just really some impressive stuff. All right, Brian, from the outsider's perspective, what were some of your thoughts on this win?
I was really happy to see fans back at Capital One Arena. I think it's a long time coming. Pretty much every team in the league has had fans back for a little bit now. So the Wizards were pretty much one of the last ones. So it was great to have fans back at Capital One Arena. And what a night to bring them back. You have the Warriors coming to town. You got Steph Curry coming off a 49-point game against the Sixers. And Bradley Beal fighting for the scoring title. This was a pretty good game. I want to just say I've really been impressed since the Wizards got him. I know we talked about this a little bit last week, but Daniel Gafford's been great since the Wizards got him. He had a really good game in this one, 19 points and 10 boards. I really love the 3-center combo of the Wizards. I think they all add something to the team, and we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what they do next year when Bryant comes back. But yeah, this was a good win for the Wizards for sure. They shut Curry down pretty much. He only scored 19 points, which was impressive after he had just dropped 49 on the Sixers. So yeah, great.
And he had a bunch of 40-point games in a row.
Yeah, Curry was killing it going into this game. So to limit him to only 19 points is huge.
Yeah, definitely. It's really impressive. I'm happy that the home fans got something really exciting to see. Yeah, I think that's it for this one. All right, let's go back and take a look at the next game where they play the Thunder for the second time in a week. This one wasn't as close. Bradley Beal put up 33, Russell Westbrook 11, 11, and 37. It was close after one. The Wizards were only up by one, and they were only up by two at halftime. But in the third, they were able to outscore them by 8, and then they were able to score them by 10 in the fourth quarter. That was the real the dagger, as they say. So, just some really good play all around. Anthony Gill has been really impressing me. He was phenomenal in tonight's game for the first half too. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I thought he's been playing great. A lot of these people we've picked up or we somehow sort of slotted in, I think have been playing better than some of the people we had sort of at the beginning of the season. So it's interesting to see that this team seems to be developing and evolving as the season goes on. And I know that a lot of people really want the coach gone. And I don't necessarily know the reason for why we've had a resurgence late here, but it's been impressive to see nonetheless. I also want to give a huge shout out to Westbrook. I mean, I have to go back and look it up, but I think it was 15 of the last 18 games he's had a triple-double. And, it's just some really incredible numbers that he's been able to put up. And it almost becomes ho-hum, like, oh, man, he did it again. But, like, the big thing is he's getting wins with these triple-doubles now. Now, he didn't tonight, but tonight was a very tough game. And I don't put it on him for, like, showboating or doing something that would have hurt the team. I think he's playing well within himself. And we talked about at the top of the show, John Wall is now out for the season with an injury there, and people had questions early on in the season. Everyone thought that in the trade that we had lost this trade badly. I'll be interested to see what your guys' take is on that now. I'll start off with Arun. Arun, what is your take on this game, but also the current situation? Are you happy with what we're seeing with Westbrook? And obviously your thoughts on Wall going down.
Yeah, Westbrook after this game in the month of April, he was averaging 22 points, 14 rebounds, and 12 assists. A much better shooting performance against the Thunder. Their best players are Dort and Pokoshevsky, a 7-foot, 190-pound guy. That's, I don't know. That Bertans might be way more than that. And yeah, I think Westbrook is definitely having a better season than Wall. I think it really just comes down to the Thunder. I think they're tanking for sure. Wall's only played like almost 1,300 minutes this season, so he's been banged up. But then in comparison, Neto's played almost 1,200 minutes, so it's not like Wall has been healthy. The Wizards were able to get out of that contract. Now it's just, what are the Wizards going to do? Are they going to make noise in the playoffs? And if not, they'll have to go up the first-round pick, and they won't have much to show for it. But right now, they're playing very well, and hopefully will still carry over into the playoffs.
So they have an interesting stat going on in the postgame, and I'm going to use that for my lead-in to DC's People's Champ. Which Wizard stat is the most impressive, do you think? The 8-game win streak, Bradley Beal scoring 31.4 points per game, or Russ's 29 triple-doubles?
Russell's 29 triple doubles.
Yeah.
My answer.
Nice. I like it. What are your thoughts on the trade so far and this game?
Clearly, the Wizards were the clear winners of this trade because Russell Westbrook has come out. I believe that and I have not looked at the season stats recently, but I believe that Russell Westbrook averages a triple double right now. I believe. I may be wrong. Arun might be able to correct me because he's a stats guy, so he would probably know better than me.
No, I believe you're right, by the way.
He's on the edge because I know he was like very close last week.
Okay.
Yeah, we're pulling it up right now.
22, 11, and 11.
He does.
Yeah, 20, yeah, it is.
Yeah, go back
Impressive.
There
you go, top right there.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, 22,
22
yeah.
11, and 11.
Yeah, perfect. So, yeah, so that's the answer. He is, and I agree. I think he's played much better, much more within himself since he's come back from injury. I think that people were blaming a lot of stuff on him that may be due to injury. I think he's made Bradley Beal a better player, which a lot of people thought he wouldn't do. He said he would make Bradley Beal a better player. I think a lot of people question that. But Bradley Beal is putting together one of his best seasons. And I think a lot of other players around him are doing better as well. So I have to say, I have to eat a lot of crow. I wasn't so sold on Westbrook before. And he's really impressed me a lot this season for sure. And Tim, do you have any final thoughts on this game?
Yeah, just the Wizards are clearly a better team. I like how they ran the Thunder out of the gym in the fourth. And Russ came home. I think he was happy to play here and happy to return and score a lot of points. He was just cutting into the lane and scoring at will with layups. So it was great to see the Wizards get like a lot of players some minutes and just have a feel good, easy win, which is good when you're coming back home for some home games.
Yeah, you got to feel like the Thunder fans must be groaning, knowing the players that they had, years ago, and they're all good. Yeah, and they all were gone. So it's just, I know they couldn't have kept everybody, but it just seems like they're in a much worse position now than they were, and not a whole lot to show for it. Brian, what are your final thoughts on this game before we move on?
I mean, I didn't see this game, honestly, so I'll just comment on the Westbrook Wall thing. Personally, I think the Wizards won this trade. Like, I personally thought they won it from day one. I know it took Russell Westbrook a while to go, but I said from day one, if you have the opportunity to get a player like Russell Westbrook, you absolutely have to take that chance. And I'm very glad, even though I'm not a Wizards fan, I'm very glad they did, because he has been an absolute joy to watch since, especially in the second half. Now that he's 100% healthy, he's averaging a triple-double. I mean, that's just crazy. So I absolutely think the Wizards won this trade. No disrespect to John Wall and what he did during his time in DC. That'll always be remembered by Wizards fans as long as they live. But I think they won this trade for sure. And like everybody said, this was a pretty easy, convincing win over the Thunder.
Yes, for sure. All right, let's get into this next game. And is this the game? I think so, right? It's the 26th. What day is this? It was yesterday?
Yeah, last night they won.
Yeah, that is the 20th.
Very close game.
Right, but it was, I'm just making sure I have the timestamp right on this. So Daniel Gadford last night had 4 steals and 4 blocks tonight. He's the first player to do that since Haywood in 2004, 17 years ago. I thought that was an interesting stat that came out last night. At the time, it was pretty cool that the Knicks were on a 9-game win streak. And the Knicks didn't play tonight. Is that right?
No, they lost tonight, Robbie.
Oh,
they lost. The streak's over.
Both
do we need to talk any more about my team's losing tonight? Can we just stop, please? Thank you.
I'm sorry. I really didn't know. I really forgot.
It's okay. It's okay.
But yeah, it's a rough night for both of us. But yeah, so it was a good defensive night last night for the Wizards, and we'll go back to that. So the Cleveland Cavaliers, 32 and 20 to 27, they came out pretty hot. The Wizards outscored 36 to 28 in the second. Cavaliers outplayed them in the third, and then the Wizards really put it on at the end, outscored them 32-17. Bradley Beal once again put up 33 points. Westbrook only had 5 rebounds. By the way, Russell Westbrook leads our team in rebounds, I believe. So, like, I think he's one of the first guards to do that for a team, or at least for the Wizards, in a very, very long time. It's just not often that you ever see the leading rebounder on a team be from the guard position. But anyway, 11 assists.
Maybe top 10 in the league too. I thought Kutcher was saying that too.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, 10. If you're averaging double digits in rebounds, that's pretty good. So a lot of big men don't necessarily do that every night. But just good all around play, as you can kind of see here. They split the ball well. It wasn't like, Bradley Beal went for his 33, but the rest of the team, they all showed up. I'm just so impressed with some of these role players, showing up and and performing really remarkably. Arun, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it was a very close game, like down the stretch. I think Gil, he's had some good games, but this wasn't one of them. He was pretty bad on the defensive end. Gadford had a few mental lapses in the third quarter. Jared Allen was great in this game, and he dominated. Robin Lopez, he got injured in the game, but overall, the Wizards did enough to hang on. They spread out the court, even though Bertans was 3 of 12 from. He only hit 3 threes. I don't know the exact numbers, but he was the team was playing better when he was on the court, probably defensively, along with Garrison Matthews, who also saw a lot of minutes in this game. Beal was great down the stretch of this game, and overall, it would have been a shame to lose to the Cavaliers because they're not that good. Garland had a great game, but their big lineup was pretty bad. Like Larry Nance and Jared Allen, they shouldn't be really playing together. They're 2 centers, and Matthew Dellavedova's like washed up, and I'm glad the Cavs put him in the game because Beal was torching him, and overall it was a good win for the Wizards.
Champ, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
I unfortunately did not get to watch this game because I was in the middle of a Twitch stream for a wrestling pay-per-view. But from looking at the stats, it looked like that it was the fourth quarter of this game that made the biggest difference for this team and getting the victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers. And this victory in this game is a microcosm of what led to what would ultimately lead to an 8-game winning streak for this franchise, which comes very close to the longest win streak they've had in a very long time for a team that looked like they were pretty much down and out of the playoff running. This victory puts them back into contention and talks of getting into the playoffs coming a month or so from now. So great win for the Wizards. Great job of keeping bringing it back and playing defense when they needed to play defense. And again, they're just showing that grit and that toughness that they seem to be known for.
I agree. Tim, what are some of your thoughts?
This was a great win for the Wizards. They were actually behind in the second half and parts of the first half as well. So they had to play really hard. And like Arun said, Beal was clutch. Russ was clutch. I confirmed he's actually the 8th leading rebounder in the NBA, which is amazing for a guard. And we know he averages a triple-double, so great trade by the Wizards, I would say. And he's flourishing with a great scorer like Beal to take a lot of pressure off of him. And, in a game like this, again, Cleveland has a lot of washed-up players like Dellavedova. Love doesn't play that much, even though he's very highly paid and not too bad, but he's just over the hill. They have too many centers. They do have some talent, so, they stay in games. They're competitive, but the Wizards pulled it out and just showed that they're the better team at the end. But the Wizards are still in the playoff spot now, and I think they could maybe overtake Indiana and max out at the 9 because they play them 2 more times. So, I'm somewhat confident the Wizards will stay in this play-in round.
Yeah, that would be really exciting. It's funny because we were talking about a Brendan Haywood stat before, and I looked up and I forgot that he's on that post-game show. So shout out to Brendan Haywood, one of my all-time favorite North Carolina Tar Heel players, being the last person to be that defensive center presence. But I'm really impressed. This doing it by committee has been really, really helpful for the Wizards. I think they've really played everybody, and they've had to, especially in this next game. If they had won tonight, it would have been because a lot of these role players really stepped up in the first half. They just missed out in overtime, but they kept them in this game. Brian, what are some of your thoughts on this Cavaliers game before we get to the next game?
Yeah, you got to beat Cleveland. They're one of the bottom 3 teams in the Eastern Conference. So if you want to have any chance of making the play-in, got to beat teams you're better than. Arun mentioned it. Beal was a great closer in this game, scoring 33 points, doing his usual thing. That's incredible that Westbrook is the 8th leading rebounder in the NBA for a guard. That's just crazy, and especially considering how he started the season. I mean, the way he's turned it around in the second half has just been amazing. I will, even though I'm a Knicks fan, I will give love to the Wizards for having this incredible winning streak. I mean, what a great run to get them right back into the thick of the playoff hunt. I mean, they absolutely deserve respect from everybody around the league. I was listening to Jeff Van Gundy on a radio interview today, and he gave love to the Wizards. So if Jeff Van Gundy's giving you love, then that's a big deal. So good win for the Wizards and a great winning streak. They should be very proud of what they accomplished during the streak.
And I will echo that right back to you, Brian. I know you're sad about the Knicks.
Thank you.
I mean, they're both teams, were the 2 winningest teams over the last couple of weeks. And it's something, we don't get a combined 17-game win streak between our teams very often, maybe never. So, it's something that we should enjoy.
It was a fun time. It was a fun time. And
And honestly, streaks are meant to be broken, but then once they lose them, then maybe you go in another one. So
and the Knicks are playing the Bulls on Wednesday, and like I've said on my podcast, upon further review with Brian Brennan, we're going to try and help out the Wizards by beating the Bulls on Wednesday.
I very much appreciate that. All right, let's get into this game that was tonight. We'll do a post-game one because we'll have a lot of games to break down next week, so it'll alleviate a little bit of it on the back end. DeMar DeRozan is incredible. I said the stat earlier. Only 3 players, 1,000 points since 2010 in every single year. And that's Russell Westbrook, DeMar DeRozan, and LeBron James. So they're 3 of the best scorers, and we got to see them both in this game. I thought that the Wizards, Bradley put up 45. It's so frustrating that it kind of continued. I know he got a win this year where he scored over 40. But it's just his trend is if he goes over 40, they don't win, right? More often than not, which is a bummer. Russell Westbrook put up 13, 14, and 22, a really great game. But I want to give credit to Alex Len. I've been talking to him all night with scoring updates. He played great, 10 rebounds, 17 points. But also Anthony Gill, I wish he had a better second half, but his first half was phenomenal. I think did he get all those points in the first half? I took a screenshot at the halftime box score. I was so impressed by, he had 6 for 7 for 13 points in 13 minutes. He didn't even play it at all in the second half. I don't understand that functionally, right? So somebody is going 6 for 7, 1 for 1 for 3, 13 points, 13:55, and they're saying he had 14 total minutes in this game, so maybe he played a minute in the second half? But that's crazy to me. He was doing so well. Now, I know that we forced overtime. We were playing pretty well in general, but to me, it's a wasted effort by him. I think that he could have definitely produced even more at the rate he was going. Or maybe they thought like he wasn't going to do better than 6 for 7, like stop now, like in poker when you're stopping your head. But it doesn't work that way. Like, I feel like you got to keep it going even in the second half. But who knows? It was a close game. Both teams played really well. They had almost identical scores. At halftime, they were down 3. It was tied at the end of the third. It was tied at the end of the fourth. Both teams scored 38 points in the fourth, and they just beat us barely by 3. Again, if you didn't see the end of the game, I talked about it live during the baseball segment. Bradley Beal had a chance to tie it for 3 and was just a little bit short. Definitely a bummer. Arun, what were some of your initial takeaways of this game?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird back and forth game. Beal was called with a technical foul in the closing minute of the game, which ultimately turned out to be the difference of the game because the Wizards had to foul the Spurs down by 1. It was a weird tech for the officials to call, and Beal was confused because he didn't even know what he said. But I guess the officials were tired of Beal complaining. Would I don't know, but that's what typically NBA players do. Westbrook took 26 shots. He only made 9. He was great in OT in the fourth quarter, but he did have that critical turnover, which led him to have 6 turnovers. Which is the Wizards only had 8 turnovers total, but the Spurs as a team, they only had 6 turnovers. So Westbrook had as many turnovers as the Spurs. The Wizards weren't really getting it done defensively. Gill, he's a good offensive player, but I can speak to why he probably didn't play. The Cleveland game, he was pretty bad defensively, and even in this game, he scored all those points. And during that time, the Wizards only outscored the Spurs by 2 points, meaning the Spurs were getting theirs. And I think this game was heading to double overtime if Beal didn't commit that technical foul, but it's a loss. It's a back-to-back loss. It ends an 8-game winning streak. The last time they did that was 2001 when Michael Jordan was on the team. So that's pretty crazy and something that Wall, Gilbert Arenas never did. But Michael Jordan did it, but he didn't make the playoffs that year. So pretty funny. But hopefully the Wizards do make the playoffs or at least the play-in game. They did lose some ground, but it is a back-to-back game, so it's hard to be too critical of this loss. They did play well against the Spurs, who, as you mentioned, Robbie, they've given the Wizards fits over the years.
Yeah, for sure. I think you mentioned some good things. The back to back and then going into overtime, they just probably ran out of gas a little bit. But I wonder, I mean, a lot of Wizards players and coaches were chirping at the refs all game. I mean, there was a Westbrook technical early on where you could hear on TV the amount of cursing he did. I was shocked they didn't throw him out of the game, to be honest, because after the first one, they gave him a lot of leeway to not give a second one because I think they felt bad that maybe they shouldn't have given the first one. But like, I was kind of blown away. I mean, I've seen players say that kind of stuff before and get the second. So, just really interesting. Arun, do you think that some of the comments earlier in the game by other Wizards players and coaches affected how they called the quick technical against Bradley?
Yeah, not only the Wizards complaining, but Greg Popovich, he had a technical earlier in this game as well. I believe some other Spurs were chirping at the refs. And I think the official probably forgot what portion of the game this was in. And they're human after all. And then he called the tech. It's just unfortunate that you're not, it's like a given that you're never supposed to call a technical foul like in the closing minute of a game. That's like an unwritten rule. But perhaps Beal, I think the last like every possession he was asking for contact. In that instance, though, Beal was right that he was knocked over on the floor by Pirtle. So I can't be too angry with Beal, especially since he had a great game. He took 37 shots, but he did make 20 of them. Unfortunately, he needs to work on his 3-point game. He missed all his threes, including that last 3. So, yeah, I think officials are human, and that's just the way the game goes sometimes.
I'm going to ask Arun one more question, and then I'm going to get other people's thoughts on this game. So, Arun, I read somewhere that I think maybe you wrote it to me that Westbrook in the final closing minutes is one of the most efficient players in the NBA. I mean, historically, that has not been true, that he hasn't been a particularly great shooting percentage. Is that true this year?
Yeah, he's the best. He has the best field goal percentage in the clutch, which means like if the game is within 6 points. So Westbrook has done a really good job. I think the last time Westbrook was like that was his MVP season, where he wasn't hitting all these incredible game winners. Even this season, he hit that crazy 3 against Brooklyn. He also actually Beal is in the top 12, I believe, which is, even though people are saying he's not clutch, Beal is actually done much better in the clutch compared to years past. So, Westbrook is having a good season. It was unfortunate that he was not healthy the first half of the season, but he's definitely picked it up lately.
Yeah. All right, Tim, with all of those stats and all those things being said, what are some of your thoughts on this game?
Well, I actually have a convenient prop because this is a Gatorade Zero, if you can't see. And the reason I'm saying that is because apparently there's a COVID outbreak with NBA officials, and they're borrowing Gatorade League refs. And one of them was the guy who was giving people technicals.
I thought that guy looked like a Yahoo. This guy did not look like a good.
I know he was not a good ref. Both teams hated him. He is a scrub, and I'm glad it's a zero Gatorade because he's a zero talent ref. So send him back to Grand Rapids or wherever the fuck he's from. I don't know. He's not good, but the Wizards didn't really deserve to win. It was a great game. I was kind of upset with Brooks because I thought that Rui played horrible defense this game, and a lot of the buckets that the Wizards gave up, he got torched. He needs to work on his defense. He wasn't awful because he had a huge three and he got some offensive rebounds, but he's not a great defender. He's a bad defender still. So that was disappointing. And then Gil not playing more in the second half was a little bit questionable, but I guess he's a bad defender too. So, give it up for the Spurs. Very clutch. DeRozan is really close with Westbrook and Beal, so it was kind of a fun back and forth. But the Spurs are a little bit better of a team, and obviously they have a better coach, so they're going to win games like this against the Wizards.
Yes, Champ. I'm going to go to you next. What are some of your thoughts?
I'm not one of those guys or one of those fans who's going to blame referees for a loss, and that's not what's happening here. I'm not blaming the referee for his loss. But I got to say, that referee was absolute trash. He was absolute trash. Clear garbage. And Westbrook giving him an earful, Brad giving him an earful. He needed it because he was awful. But that's beside the point. This was a highly competitive game against a very, very talented Western Conference team that you needed to win because of the fact that the Raptors won tonight. So you knew that you needed to win this to keep ahead of the pace. Raptors win, you lose. So now it could be you might be in a little bit of trouble here. It depends on how the this coming week plays out. But this is a win that you definitely needed in order to keep ahead of the pace of the Raptors and keep yourself in that spot for the play-in game and a chance for the playoffs. So very disappointing. You want the ball in Bradley Beal's hands every time for the last shot. It's just unfortunate that on a night where he didn't play well from beyond the arc, that's who you have the ball, whose hands is on the ball and having to take that shot. It was unfortunate, and the 8-game winning streak is now over.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think anyone was particularly great from beyond the arc. Somebody clearly should have had it. Brad in general was the hot hand of the night. I'll go back to Arun real quickly. Is there somebody else you would have rather them take that three?
I think you got to go with Beal to take that three, or if it's a pass to take, maybe they put in Garrison Matthews, but he hadn't played, I believe, for a really long time. And it's crazy that each team only hit 6 threes only in this game. They scored 289 points combined, which is ridiculous amount of scoring given that none of these teams hit any threes really. So yeah, I think you have to go to Beal. You just have to get a shot off because the Spurs would have fouled like anybody, and Beal's the best guy to create a shot off the dribble. So you can't complain too much.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go to Brian for his final thoughts on this game before we look at the schedule ahead.
Yeah, I didn't watch this game because, like we all heard, I was watching the Knicks, and we know how that went too. But this sounds like a really fun game, and I'm kind of bummed I didn't watch it because it sounds like there's everything from players chirping at each other, high scoring from DeRozan and Beal, questionable officiating. It sounds like a really high scoring 146 to 143. That is a fun game. I kind of wish I watched it. I agree with what Champ said. This hurts because of the fact that the Raptors lost, and you need to keep pace with them in the Eastern Conference to have any chance to get into the play-in. But San Antonio is a good team. It's the second of a back-to-back, and like you guys said, they really ran out of gas. So it's a frustrating loss. It's a frustrating end to a winning streak, but it's okay. I think they'll bounce back nicely.
Yeah, I'm going to take a look. We're going to pull up the NBA standings real quickly and just take a look at the Eastern Conference just to talk about it. So, I mean, the Raptors lost, which was good, though. At least they didn't gain a game.
They won.
Oh, they won. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
They picked up a game on the Wizards, so it was 2 games before this tonight.
Got it. Okay. Well, the Wizards, I'm just sort of surprised that they were that far up because a week ago they were either behind or tied. So, but again, it'll be interesting. At least the Bulls lost. The Pacers are above them. They're on a 3-game win streak. But it's all very close right there. So, I mean, as you can see, it's just a couple of games separate all these teams. Let's take a look at the week ahead real fast. I'm going to break down all the games, and I'm going to let each one of you guys pick one game you want to talk about, and then we'll get out of here just to sort of save a little bit of time on the back end of this podcast. The Lakers play the Wizards. I am a Lakers fan. I've talked about this in the past. I'm sorry if people believe I cannot be fans of 2 teams. But I'm obviously Wizards are my number 1, but Lakers are my number 2. So I'm hoping that the Wizards get a big rebound game here. The Lakers have dealt with a lot of injuries as of late. But I think that they're getting some of their players back. But that'll be a tough matchup. That's at 7:30 on Wednesday. Then on
nationally
Friday,
televised.
Yeah, that game was moved to a nationally televised game. It's on ESPN, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Wizards then get another game against the Cavaliers, this time in Cleveland, Friday at 7:30. And then the Wizards play the Mavericks on Saturday. It's a 9:00 game in Dallas. And then next Monday, the Pacers come to town. That's another one of those teams that we're battling for playoff positioning with. That'll be a 7:00 game next Monday. So next Monday, we'll have a live game versus the Pacers. And then Brian and Brennan and us will be dueling in hockey as well. There'll be a live game against the Rangers for the Capitals also at 7. So one of our last times this season where we'll have a live game of both teams. And there'll be a post-game show for both teams actually as well. So I will let we're going to break down all 4 of those. So each one of you guys, I'm going to let you pick a game. I'm going to start off with Brian since he's the outsider. I'm going to get his take on one of these games. Which game do you want to pick?
I'll take the Mavericks game. Dallas started the season off slowly. They're playing much better in the second half. It'll be interesting to see how they do. It'll be a tough game on the road. Dallas is definitely a playoff team in the West with Luka Doncic and my favorite player, Kristaps Porzingis. So we'll see how that goes. I think that could be a tough game. I think they'll win the Cleveland game before that. So if they can start a winning streak by beating Dallas, that'd be great. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and it's saying here that the 2 players of the week would be playing in that
That's
game.
right. Yes,
so,
yes. Luka Doncic is an animal. He's so good.
Yeah, it sort of surprised me a couple of years ago. I didn't expect him to be like one of the greatest players in the NBA today, but he is. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But you look at him, you don't think that's the guy who's going to be, one of the greatest players in the NBA. And he's proven me wrong. I didn't expect it, and he's been phenomenal. So that'll be a great matchup. Tim, I'm going to go to you next. Which game do you want to break down?
I'll do the Pacers game on May 3rd. So the Pacers are right above the Wizards in the standings. So this is a very important game with playoff implications. And the Pacers are not a great team, although they've won 3 straight games. The Wizards beat them earlier in the year. The game was close and in DC. So I think this is a must-win game, to be honest, because I believe the Wizards will lose the 2 games against the Western Conference teams, the Lakers and Mavs. but it's not a gimme. The Pacers are playing well and, have some decent players. So I think though the Wizards at home will take this game, but it'll be close.
Yes. Champ, I'm going to go to you next. Which game do you want? Between the Lakers.
The Lakers game concerns me a lot. The Lakers game concerns me a lot because, of course, LeBron and all that, and also the fact that it's a nationally televised game. It has been quite a long time since this team has had a nationally televised game, and I'm concerned about this very, very inconsistent defense being shown on national television against one of the greatest players in all of the NBA and a team that's coming off the championship last year. And
LeBron's not playing. LeBron's going to be out.
playing.
Yes.
Really?
So there's
Been
a
out for a while.
I'm still concerned. The Lakers are still a very talented team.
Oh yeah.
They're one of the best teams in the West, one of the best teams in the NBA. So even without having LeBron in the lineup, this is still a very concerning matchup, and I feel this is a matchup. And Tim just mentioned it. I think this is a matchup this team just will not win. And I think one of the main things that really concerns me is the fact it's on national TV. So now everybody around the country will see how inconsistent this defense can be against a very talented team. Or maybe they step up and finally show they can play defense. But this is a game that concerns me the greatest out of all four.
Sure. All right. I'm going to go to Arun. Arun, you got last pick. So you get the Cavaliers rematch game.
Oh, that's the game I really wanted to talk about. I think I'm just going to pass on this. I'll just mention that the Mavs and the Lakers are they're like dead heat for the 5 and 6 seeds, so they affect the Western Conference race. And the Wizards playing both of them this week is kind of interesting. So if the Wizards beat both of them, they actually help Tim's other team, the Portland Trail Blazers, were in the 7th seed. So I thought that was interesting. But the Cleveland game is not very interesting to me.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. That's fine. So it's going to be an interesting way. I'm surprised the Lakers have fallen so much, but obviously they've had injuries across the board, different players being injured at different times, but they could just turn it on, when it matters most. But anyway, it's going to be a really tough game against the Lakers. I think we'll win that Cavaliers game. The Mavericks game is going to be tough. I hope that we win the Pacers. Hopefully we go 2-2 in here. I'll let you each get a final take on that. I'll start with Arun. What do you think they'll do this week?
I think they'll go 2-2 with wins against actually maybe 3. Actually, I changed that. I'll go 3-1. They'll go 3-1 this week with the loss to the Mavericks. If LeBron isn't playing, I think the Wizards can beat the Lakers, especially since they just came off a tough loss, and I think they'll respond well off of the loss.
Perfect. Well, Arun, I'll let you give your final takes right here, and then we'll let you go, and then we'll get everyone else's final takes.
Yeah, you said the Thunder didn't have much to look forward to. Just one correction, they have 18 first-round picks, so maybe that's in the next 5 years, so they have that to look forward to. And I'm going to be celebrating the 9-year anniversary of RG3 being drafted, probably with 9 shots maybe. Woo! Later tonight. So
I want to see Arun with 9 shots. That would be
Me too.
So yeah, RG3 tweeting about that. I think he's retweeted that about 9,000 times today. So shout out to RG3 one more time.
Nice. Sounds good. Well, Arun, thank you for your time as always. We'll have you on next week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sure. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Tim, I'm going to let you give your take on how you think the Wizards week will go real quick, and then your final thoughts, and then we'll let you go.
I'm going to say also 3-1. I'm going to be optimistic, but 2-2 is very, likely as well. I'll agree with Arun. Although, I could see them randomly beating the Mavs and then losing to the Pacers, but winning the others. You never know with the Wizards. Weird crap happens.
Right. All right. I'm going to let, any final thoughts before I let you go?
No, man, I enjoyed the show. I'm glad we got to discuss this win streak and hopefully a lot of wins in this upcoming week. And it was just great to chat with you guys, and hope you have a good rest of the show.
Sounds good. Thank you as always, Tim. We'll talk to you next week. Have a good
Orioles suck.
except for tonight, I guess. So.
Except for tonight, I guess. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Tim. All right, I'm gonna let I'll let Brian. We're gonna talk a little bit of soccer for just 1 second before I let you go. I know it wasn't a very exciting DC United game. They did lose the game 1-0 in a defensive match. Any thoughts on it before we let you give your final take on other stuff?
No, like you said, it was a very defensive. If you don't like boring defensive soccer, then you're not going to like this game. The only goal was scored on an own goal from Heinz Ike, who scored a real goal in the first game for DC United. So that sucks for him. He's the new signing, so that sucks. But we'll see if they can
On the score sheet, it doesn't count as an own goal, though, right? Because the other team got a goal.
No, I think it's an own goal. It's an own goal.
But isn't it listed as?
No, it was listed as an own goal when I saw it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyway, they have their next game is Saturday. It's very, very, very late. It's at 10:30. It's against the San Jose Earthquakes in San Jose. So if you feel like staying up for it, stay up for it. But we'll see how they do.
You're right. It was an own goal listed.
Yeah.
I was listed under their thing, which I've never seen one of our players listed on opponents.
It's a goal for them. So
yeah,
think of it that. Yeah,
it's just most sports, whoever last touched it for the other team gets credit for it. It's rarely that you see that in most sports.
Yeah, so that's just how soccer is.
Yeah, that's crazy. I just misread it, I guess. All right. Well, interesting. Well, I know that you've had a really busy couple of weeks. You've been putting out a ton of different shows. Let people know what was on the Friday show and this week's show.
Yeah, so I put out an episode on Friday. It was really long. It was a 2 hour and 27-minute episode. So if you have the time, go back and listen to it. I thought it was a great episode. Arun was on it. We talked about the NFL draft. We also talked about Yanks, Knicks, and Rangers, like I always do every week. And then I decided over the weekend, Robbie, to avoid more marathons like the one I dropped on Friday, I'm going to go back to 2 episodes a week. So I dropped an episode this morning. I think it's great. It's episode 42, the David Tyree episode. I think it's one of the more fun episodes I've done yet. Go check it out wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get it. And, we'll come out with another episode on Friday. So a lot of content for Upon Further Review with Brian Brennan lately.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm a little behind on my Brian Brennan podcast, but I did go back and listen to your Ask Brian from last week, and I thought that was
a lot of fun.
That was fantastic. A lot of great questions.
You got to stop listening to Imagine Dragons, though, man.
I know. There's a debate on whether or not I like Imagine Dragons. I don't hate Imagine Dragons. I like them because of what they did for the Washington Capitals. They changed the Vegas, and forever I will love them for that. So
that's fair. That's fair.
They can produce all shit music for the rest of time, and that will forever solidify them as a great band for me. So,
all right, that's fair. That's legitimate, I think, Robbie. That's fair.
Anyway, but I appreciate that. Even if there was some digs throughout that podcast, I do think that it was a fun listen. And people,
a lot of shots were fired on that Ask Brian episode. I will say you weren't the only one.
I know.
There was a lot of shots fired on that.
Bullets going everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'll take some of it, but definitely go to SportsOTHP.com. Click on the podcast partners button and click on Upon Further Review with Brian Brennan. Check out all those latest podcasts. They're a fun listen to, and there'll be more this week. And Brian, thank you as always, and we'll have you on again soon.
Have a good night, guys. I'll talk to you next time.
Shoot shots. I might have to go back and listen, make sure I don't have no trades.
No. We didn't shout. We didn't take any shots at the champ. We didn't take any shots at the champ. Don't worry about that.
That's true. And next week will be an interesting battle with the Rangers versus Caps. So I look forward.
Can't wait
for that. So
looking forward to it.
I'll talk to you next week.
See you then, man.
All right, sounds good. All right, champ. Let people know what's going on in the no spots, and congratulations on getting affiliate. If anyone wants to go over and check it out, I'm going to do a shout out right now for him, right on the Twitch feed. But definitely go check that out as well. He's also modding my channel. I appreciate it. But Champ, let people know what's going on both on your Twitch channel, but also on the No Spots podcast.
Well, now that we are affiliate on Twitch, our live stream for the podcast will be exclusive to Twitch. But I will not be lazy anymore, and I will start uploading the audio to our podcasting platforms, and I will upload the video version on Facebook and Twitter on Mondays because we have at least 48 hours to 24 hours. The content is exclusive to Twitch. So by Mondays, they'll be up on Facebook and YouTube. Hopefully, we'll figure that out. But this coming Saturday, it'll be our season 3 premiere, where we'll be recapping this past Sunday's Impact Rebellion pay-per-view, which was awesome, as well as what happened this week in wrestling. And on the Twitch channel, I will be doing a Wrestle Chat Wednesday stream where I'll be just talking about wrestling with the community, talking about women's wrestling and tag team wrestling, and taking questions from the viewers on what they want to talk about when it comes to wrestling. That's coming up on Wednesday at 7 p.m. and then the podcast on Saturday at 5.
Sounds good. Well, Champ, thank you so much for both double dipping, being a moderator and live on air. I really appreciate all the support, and congratulations again on getting that. Yeah, on getting that next level, and we'll definitely do more stuff together on Twitch and beyond. And I look forward to many new and exciting things from the No Spots podcast. Again, sportsothp.com. Click the podcast partners button, just like you can with Brian Brennan. You can also check out the No Spots podcast right there. Definitely check it out, and we'll talk to you next week, Champ.
See you guys next week, and I hope I don't wake up tomorrow and feel like crap tomorrow because it's actually working.
Yeah. Congratulations on getting it, though. It's a good step.
Yes, indeed. Take care, guys.
All right, take it easy, champ.
All right, Carol. Busy show. A lot of sports to talk about. I even got a cat who's interested in our final thoughts. So, Carol, once again, give a quick little shout out, maybe for people who missed it, on what you talked about on Thursday, and also give a little shout out for what you do on Sunday as well.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Excuse me, in case you missed it. Yeah, the Washington football team pre-draft and off-season special, as always, with Dujane Bland. We broke down the upcoming draft, the spots that the team has to draft in, and went over all the free agency acquisitions. You can go check that out on sportsothp.com or on my YouTube channel at Carol Porter III. That's with 3 eyes, not the number 3. Make sure you check out Sunday nights at 6 at the Bar Radio, talking a little bit of sports, a little bit of politics, a little bit of current events, and independent music. As always, we had a great in-studio guest last night, and we do it every Sunday night. You know, it's a little bit different from Sports on the Hill podcast. So, you know, if you want the adult conversation, don't mind a couple of, 4-letter words being dropped and alcoholic beverages being consumed on the air, tune in 6 o'clock Sunday nights because we always have a lot of fun. I always have the best interviews and the best independent music. You see some of the videos that I play at the end of the show, some of the videos that we get on At the Bar Radio. So make sure you check us out every Sunday night starting at 6 p.m. And if you're also in the market for a new, used, or pre-owned certified vehicle, come holler at your boy down at Waldorf Honda, 2450 Crane Highway. New, used, pre-owned, certified, even do leases. So inbox me for details or hit me up or come on down and ask for Carol because I'm going to get the deal done, the price that you want, and the vehicle that you want. And that's about it, Robbie.
Okay, I got a couple of quick last-minute things I just want to talk. I want to thank everyone for tuning in on our Facebook Live. We still have people tuning in, people asking questions. I answered some of the questions. So one of the persons asked who they think the scariest team in the East versus the Caps. I'm just going to ask you, Carol, real quickly. Who do you think the scariest team in this playoffs for the Caps are? Now that we've seen everybody, that was a good question.
I guess if the Rangers can get in, the Rangers are the team I'd be worried about because they've played the Caps the toughest and have a winning record against the Caps.
I'm also a little worried about Pittsburgh, only just because of their history. I know that they're different teams. I know that we beat them in 2018, but just history tells that they're a tough out. And I also get a little worried about the Islanders just because they have Trotz, and I know that we played very well against them in the last couple of games, but I think that they're always a tough one as well. So it'll be interesting to see, how they do. I just wanted to thank everyone for asking questions and there and checking us out. Also want to thank all of our lurkers and all the people on our Twitch channel. I'm about to raid Deathbringer TTV over on Twitch. So I'll do that raid as you do the closeout. And that's all I've got for tonight. But I look forward to an awesome show next week. And then also, that's the month of May is starting. We'll be doing our first show, Cinco de Mayo, next week of the new show, Streamers, Songs, and Sports. So check that out on my Twitch channel next Wednesday. I'm also going to stream it on Facebook as well. I look forward to doing that with the great Josh Turk. So that'll be really fun. That'll be a live Rangers game as well. So thank you everyone again for tuning in, and I'll let Carol do the outro.
As always, as Robbie said, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate all the contributors, viewers, listeners, sharers, posters, and folks that's just been loyal to us and been there through the whole 6 seasons of Sports on the Hill podcast. Make sure you check out the website, cop some of the apparel, help support the movement. All this equipment and stuff is not free. So we appreciate anything you can do to contribute to the movement and the cause. Once again, I'll be playing some Renegade along with TJ Maycrow, artist out of New Zealand, which we've received some music from on At the Bar Radio. We get music from all over the world. So stay on the lookout. I'm going to have some new music and new videos playing at the end of the show if anybody interested. And if you have any independent music, hit me up and just send it to me. It has to be an MP3 form. We do interviews, bring you on. We do Skype, call in, or even come to the studio. So be on the lookout. Stay tuned for so much more. DC Sports about the politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. We out. See you next week.